Well, hello, everybody. Mike with Woods, Water, and Wisdom. I'm sure you have probably been asking, what happened to Mike? It's a pretty good question. So sometimes life gets in the way. So just give you a quick update. A couple weeks ago, I had my girls with me on spring break. And so I was with them and doing some things. And so I didn't get an opportunity to, well, let me rephrase that. I didn't make an opportunity to record anything when they were up here with me. And then last week, actually the end of the previous week, we had a big thunderstorm that came through here, and the Wi-Fi got fried. And so the guest house here where I'm staying, the Wi-Fi, I don't know if it was the router or what exactly. All I know is the Wi-Fi was fried for a bit. And so I upload these videos from an old cell phone that doesn't have any service, so I have to have Wi-Fi connection. So I didn't get a chance to make any videos. But anyway, here we are today, and gonna take this opportunity to make a video for y'all. Hopefully I can get the thing uploaded, and we'll see how the new Wi-Fi is working out for me. Anyway, I really didn't have a whole lot to that I've been meditating on, just thinking over a few things. But in my daily Bible reading here a little bit ago, I came across this out of Joshua chapter 3 and verses 15 and 16. And this is the story where the children of Israel had wandered in the desert for 40 years, and now they've come up to the Jordan, and they're going to cross over the Jordan. Joshua's just given them the big speech. Don't be afraid. Don't, only be courageous and don't be afraid. The Lord's with you. He'll drive out the inhabitants before you. And so they go to cross over the Jordan. And it says this in Joshua chapter 3, verses 15. And it says, "And the feet of the priest who bore the ark dipped in the edge of the water, for the Jordan overflows all its banks during the whole time of harvest, that the waters which came down from upstream stood still and rose in a heap very far away at Adam, the city that is beside Zaratan. So the waters went down into the sea of the Arabah, and the salt sea failed and were cut off, and the people crossed over opposite Jericho." But the part that kind of struck me here is the Jordan overflows all its banks during the whole time of harvest. And I've kind of talked about this before. You know, the interesting thing is, when you're entering your harvest, when it comes time to harvest, when it comes time for things to take place, it's like your faith is tested even more. It seems like if you're going to cross the Jordan, you would pick a better time. It seems like if you were going to leave Egypt, you wouldn't go by the way of the Red Sea. You'd go a different way. It seems like if you're going to cross the Jordan over into the Promised Land, you would do it a different route than going across the Jordan at the flood stage. At the flood stage it seems like if I was God, it seems like I'd pick a better time. But God, being the way He is, wanted to make an even bigger show of what was going on, chose for the children of Israel to cross the Jordan River at flood stage. And the funny thing is it's like what I'm saying, when it's harvest time, it's like things get worse. When you're standing in faith and you're believing and you're expecting and you're just looking to God, and it seems like it gets worse. And it's just the devil bluffing and blundering most of the time. Now, this situation's a little bit different. God still showed up and showed out. And the fact of the matter is, most of the time, when you're believing God for something, you need His divine intervention. Obviously, you can't do it on your own. And it seems like circumstances get worse instead of better. And the devil, the enemy tries to come and rattle your faith. But God, you 99.9% of the time you can't do it in the natural by yourself anyway. That's why you're in faith, leaning upon God, trusting in Him to make something happen. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't prepare in the natural. Obviously, Joshua had just given them a speech and saying, hey, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Only be courageous, for God is with us. But they still faced a flooded Jordan. They still faced a Jericho that had big walls. They still had to do what God said, march around the city. And then once the walls fell, they still had to fight. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when God tells you to do something, when you're acting in faith, it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be the easiest thing. And oftentimes, circumstances will raise their head, so to speak, and seem to get worse, seem to try to rattle your faith. And the funny thing is, it was already impossible anyway. They can't go across the Jordan. It's flood stage. But honestly, had they crossed when the river was low, they still were going to come to Jericho, still going to have the walls, still going to be fortified. They're still going to have to fight. So what does it matter if the river's at flood stage? It's just another opportunity for God to show out and to show Himself strong and mighty on your behalf. Maybe you're facing a situation today where it seems like instead of getting better, you've gotten worse. There's sickness, you're sick, you have something going on with you, and it seems like instead of getting better, it's gotten worse. Maybe it's some financial situation. Instead of getting better, it seems like, man, I've just ran up more on the credit card, and the job, looks like it's going to play out, and, what are we going to do? That's always the question. But the interesting thing is, it's always the enemy that comes to try to get you to focus on the situation and the problem and get your focus off of God. But yet it's God that's the one that has to act. There's very, 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 very few situations that we face that it's just life or death right at the moment. And God still shows up when we do. And even if He doesn't, we're going to heaven. But the fact of the matter is, these circumstances and these situations come up to try to throw up a big smoke screen and make it look worse than it is. But it doesn't mean anything to God. He's still God. He's still all powerful. He still controls everything. You could lose it all today, and He could give it all back to you tomorrow and then some. It's happened before. I read a story here recently about a guy who found some kind of rare mineral on his land that was worth several $100 million, and now he's selling a contract to a mining company. You never know. It doesn't take much. God can do anything. He can change it in an instant. He can change it in an instant. So what I'm saying is, don't give up. Don't let the circumstances that try to fluster and bluster and get your eyes off of Jesus, don't let them do that. Don't let your harvest go just because the river is at flood stage. Because the Jordan overflows its banks at all times during harvest. Maybe it's at flood stage because it's just harvest time. Maybe things have gotten just a little bit worse just so that God can get a little bit more glory. I'm not saying He's causing it. We have an enemy out there that tries our faith. But God will change the circumstance and the situation. And you'll come through and you'll have the story and He'll get the glory. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, give me a like down there. I'm glad I can bring you another video, get the opportunity to put this out there for you. Sorry if you guys have missed me for the last couple of weeks. Like I say, I was with my girls and then for spring break, and then I had the Wi-Fi issues last week. So anyway, hopefully this blessed you. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless.